Hey guys, my name is Olga and I'm your wine guide, and today I'm bringing you a wine gossip. I know it's probably not something I wanted to start my channel with, but the news broke and I thought I needed to cover it before the news cycle move on. And I think it's an interesting story that uncovers some things that happen behind the scenes of the wine world that we don't usually think about. This is my dog Raika. If you hear him snoring, I apologize. So what comes to your mind when you think rosé? Girls' night out, seaside, picnics, seafood, summer, beautiful, right? Definitely not divorce drama, lawsuits and Russian oligarchs. Well, unless it's Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie and Miraval Rosé. I'm sure many of you know this brand and probably even love it. Well, this is the winery that specializes on rosé. But the story behind it suddenly became a drama when Brad Pitt filed a lawsuit against Angelina Jolie for selling her 50% shares. So let's unpack this a little bit. What's the deal? What's the problem, right? But first, let's look into the story of Miraval Winery. Chateau Miraval is a beautiful winery. It's a wine lover's dream. And not just because it's in Provence, France, like that wasn't good enough. It's a luxury winery in Provence, France. Okay, so let me tell you, think terraced vineyards surrounded by olive groves and pine trees. Think outdoor and indoor pools, spa, gym, home theater, and helicopter pads. It's huge, 405 hectares. It even has its own music recording studio where Sting recorded his songs. It also includes several structures that date back to 17th century. So it's also a historic site, just any historic site. It's royal historic site. The estate used to be owned by French nobility, and in 15th century it served as a private residence of Prince Orsini of Naples. I told you, it's a wine lover's dream. And on top of that, I know that's not all, on top of that, they partnered with the winemaking family, Perrin family, that is not just known in Provence, but around the world. There are 4 generations, I think, of winemakers in France, and it's the name, okay? So what can be better than this? So now let's talk about how it all started with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and this winery. So they bought the estate in 2008 and they were not married then, and they bought it in equal shares. They got married in the estate at 2014. I mean, the story just gets better and better, right? So you buy the winery that is a dream come true, fairy tale, and then you get your destination wedding there. Unfortunately, we all know how the story unfolds, right? So they get divorced in 2016, only 2 years later, and we know the custody battles and the allegations. I don't want to go into that. But it seemed like they settled it. But in 2021, Angelina Jolie sells her share of the winery, her 50%. And according to Brad Pitt, they agreed not to sell their shares, whatever it is, whatever comes, they agreed not to do it. Which is kind of already, you gave the promise and then you're walking back on it, but I mean, it's divorce. If you think about it, you split and then you still own something with your ex, just another anchor that pulls you back and reminds you of him. Probably you don't want to have it in your life. So I kind of can understand it. So Angelina Jolie's justification for selling it though was not that. According to some sources, she said that she wanted to sell it because she didn't want to own an alcohol business. Well, that's also fair, I suppose. People change, their values change. Maybe she became mindful of the fact that alcohol damages a lot of people and she didn't want to be part of that whole industry. Fair enough, right? But that's where it gets interesting. Who she sold her share to. So she sold it to Yuri Shefler. That's where Russian oligarchs come in. And before you jump into supporting financing evil Russians thing, I'm going to tell you that Yuri Shefler doesn't live in Russia since early 2000s. He was basically kicked out of the country because he had troubles with the government. So, who is Yuri Shefler? So, Yuri Shefler officially is a British-Israeli citizen, not Russian, British-Israeli citizen, billionaire, owner of the Stoli Group. You probably know Stoli Group, right? So that's the alcohol empire with its flagship brand Stoli vodka. Now Stoli. It used to be Stolichna. So Stolichna vodka is that, when you think Russian vodka, that's what you imagine, right? And probably bear holding it with a balalaika, whatever. So this is the old Soviet Union brand. So the vodka used to be made in Soviet Union. However, now it is made in Latvia and is not sold in Russia. How did that happen? So when Soviet Union collapsed and privatization happened, Yuri Shefler was one who bought that production line and the brand itself. So that deal happened in early 90s probably. 10 years later, a court pronounced that deal illegal. So we all know early 2000s was the time when our current regime was sort of purging all the oligarchs from Russia that were not agreeing with the current regime. So that's probably what happened, but that's just my speculation. Don't take it for my word for it. So that company also owns some wineries in Tuscany. Okay, so vodka is not the only thing they do. He also bought a whiskey estate in Scotland. So he diversifies, okay. Now let's talk about what's the problem selling her shares to somebody like Yuri Shefler. Well, what happens when a large international corporation buys a privately owned winery? They need to make sure that they are getting their bottom line, right? So they usually influence the owners, if they're still there, with their decisions, with how the wine should be made, what it should taste like. They do get a huge marketing budget, that's fair, but usually an interesting wine turns into an average wine. Still good quality, consistently good quality, but nothing extraordinary, nothing interesting. Very mass consumption kind of wine. And that's the biggest objection of Brad Pitt. So he claims that Angelina Jolie sold her share to Yuri Shefler because she knew what's going to happen. She knew that they're going to push their agenda and influence the final product. And that's what Brad Pitt claims with his lawsuit. We actually don't know if it's going to happen, but looking at the Tuscany wineries that this company owns, what they basically did, they put them three together in some kind of conglomerate so that they can sell the grapes to each other and exchange. So that already tells me that they are influencing what's happening with the winery. Well, questions. Interesting. It will be interesting to observe what's going to happen with Miraval Winery. My camera died, but I really wanted to do the tasting of this wine because, it's like in Chekhov's drama. If there is a gun on the wall, it's going to shoot in the last act. So my videos, if there's wine on the table, we're going to taste it. Yeah, I know, I just compared myself to Chekhov. Oh, well. Yes, so, we don't know what's going to happen. We really hope that Brad Pitt can win this. I don't know what he hopes for, to be honest. It's not like they can revert the deal between Jolie and Shefler. Maybe he can get a compensation because he also claims that well, he invested a lot in the development of this winery, and she was absent, and now she made all this profit. What she actually sold it for, I didn't tell you guys. So she sold it for 164 millions, right? There's no information what they bought it for though, so I would really love to know how much she made on it. Yeah, so as I said, we don't know what's going to happen, but if somehow Brad Pitt can maintain the control over his winery, it's a great story, because he can be setting a precedent for the industry, you know, of how winery owners can get investment into their business from large corporations but still maintain control. And it will be interesting to see how this unfolds and what's going to happen with the winery, and maybe have a taste of this wine in a couple of years and see if anything changed already. By the way, forgot to tell you another fun fact. Yuri Shefler is also that guy who used to own the largest boat in the world, the Serene, and he sold it for $500 million to a sheikh. So yeah, oh, I can smell it from here. Like, I just poured it and I'm sitting and I can smell it from here. By the way, guys, I bought it for my own money, so it's not an ad. So straight away from here, I'm sitting and I can already smell the strawberry caramel. Very classic Provence aromas, strawberry and cream. Beautiful. Like that caramelized strawberries, the candy with the strawberry and cream. That's what it smells like. Really intense aromas, very aromatic wine, very beautiful, really enjoyable. Based on the aromas, that's already worth 35 Australian dollars that I paid for it. Really nice. A bit of red apples, a bit of minerality somewhere at the back, definitely there. Maybe a bit of orange peel, so there's some citrus present again at the background, but it's not overwhelming. The aroma is not overwhelmingly sweet. It's not sweet at all. It's actually pretty refreshing. A very good acidity, medium acidity, quite dry finish. Based on the aromas, I would expect longer finish than it actually has. A really clean, crisp finish with a bit of like even chalkiness, you know, the dryness. So you know the strawberry bomb that it had in the beginning sort of went to the background, and now it's more apples and citrus, oranges, maybe like quince, you know, something like quince, yes, like very aromatic but crisp and dry on the palate. And by the way, if you like my t-shirt, I designed them myself, and you can buy them in my online shop. Oh, this wine is so good. Okay, that's the rest of my day. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it interesting. Let me know what other wine gossips or stories you want me to cover and what you want me to talk about more. I have huge plans. I prepared some wine tips and tricks that I can share with you that you can apply straight away in your real life, that are very practical. So hopefully see you soon on my channel. Bye. Drink responsibly and drink good wine. Cheers.